The boys are back in town. Welcome back to the Almost Creative Podcast. Chris and I are sitting down again together. It's been a little while.
It has been, yes.
Yeah, we've been traveling. We've been working on some big projects. Traveling together, traveling separate. I know we got to go to Texas together to work on a project for a client, and then you drove up to California to take a little vacation. While you're doing that, I had to head up to Minnesota. And actually, a fun experience in Minnesota. I've never done this before, and I recommend it. If you don't know the area you're going to, get your hair cut locally, and then you can ask the person cutting your hair the whole time. The only trade-off is I end up with not a great haircut. Speaking of not great haircuts.
Yeah. No, I need one. So I was part of a modeling shoot back in January, and they dyed my hair red. I asked for it to be dyed back black because I didn't know that, when they give you things like, what are you not okay with? I just put okay, whatever I can think of. I did not expect them to dye my hair. So I think the roots are out now. And that's why we're red.
Yeah.
But we're going to get it cut soon.
Yeah, this is a pretty cringe opening, but...
It is. I mean, life has been super interesting. I don't know about you, but it feels like life is more busier now than ever, and also pretty chill at the same time. But I think this year is going to be a really successful year.
Yeah.
So
I'm curious with the red hair, with the red hair light, is that kind of giving you PTSD thinking back to...
Nah, it's good.
Because you technically have red hair right now from the light.
Nah, it's all good. It's all good.
Anyhow, so
Yes.
Today's topic actually came from something you brought up. You said we've been getting too brainy and too serious
Which
with
I
our
love.
guests.
I want to provide more value on our show. But the thing is, we've been bringing a lot of business owners, and it helps us deter us from other podcasts. I think we need to do a little bit more of entry-level questions to get more people to understand
So
what are our views
hot
that
off
everyone
the
else talks?
presses, I went and audited a lot of the questions I get asked, whether these are in comments, if these are when you've probably had this happen to me.
Yeah.
I'm out with my drone shooting something and some guy comes up to me and asks me what I shoot on. And then next question is usually, can you shoot my music video? But
I literally got asked this
usually the
weekend.
first question is, what camera should I buy, or what camera do you have? So I get asked that a lot. We get asked what you should film in. I don't want to spoil all the questions, but these are just questions that tend to come up day to day. And so I thought it would be fun to just go through these. So I don't mind kind of answering them, and you can answer it, and then we can kind of banter about it, and then we'll just move on to the next one. So
yeah, that's all good.
Kind of a pretty relaxed one.
So is this a more FAQ sort of episode then?
Does FAQ mean something different now?
Frequently asked questions.
Okay, I'm just making sure because kids these days, they take terms that
All right.
I used to say, and you can't say them anymore.
All right, boomer. Okay, go on.
He's busy. Never tell anyone he's busy.
My girlfriend texted my phone while I was on the job, and him as my boss, he got my phone from me because I was working, and he texted her back, he's busy. Come on, man, bro. Come on, you got it. You had to know.
No, I'm just busy. I don't know.
Dude's if you don't have a girl, you can focus on your job.
Speaking of being busy, one thing that will maybe not make us busy soon because we won't have jobs is AI. So I'm curious, Chris, do you think AI is going to replace us?
Yes and no. There's nuance to that question. No, it's not going to replace anyone who's good in the industry, but yes, it is taking away entry-level positions. And so I don't know if that's something that you want to touch on.
Yeah, the way I kind of put it is it's not replacing you, but it is a tool. But I do think in some ways it will replace certain people. Mm-hmm. So again, like you said, entry-level type stuff that maybe AI could do. What I've learned is AI still kind of needs a director and someone in control, because it needs a prompt and it needs a story behind it and it needs direction. And even when you give it all those things, it gives you something that's totally opposite of what you were looking for, So it still needs that person, but I do think it's a crucial tool that you need to learn if you're going to be in our industry, because there are going to be people who are studying up on this and they're going to find ways to implement it. I know, for example, I think I've shared on an episode where I was using AI to help transcribe and pull selects.
Yes.
Now there's a tool someone's made that basically does that, but does it more professionally and more efficiently. If you don't know that tool exists and you're still spending 8 hours editing something that a transcript could have done for you in a few hours, you're going to get left behind because you're just not going to keep up. So I don't think it's replacing any jobs per se. I mean, maybe some jobs it's replacing. I think the crucial, when people think of our jobs, like shooting, editing, meeting with clients, it's not going to replace those jobs, but it will make those jobs easier. And if you don't use those tools, you might get left behind.
No, that's a good point, because there's this conversation I keep having with people, right? That at least younger people. Some of them are really, really pro AI, and they keep pushing it, and they want to make money off of it. And it's I don't know, kind of pushes people. It feels salesy. It feels like the crypto boom. Some people are very anti AI. So when I have conversations with people my age, I kind of have to like tee the line. For me, it's a tool. It's an automation tool.
Yeah.
The negative part that I see happening is it is taking away entry level positions, kind of like things where you kind of get rough.
Yeah.
And the issue that I see there is that when people use AI, when the average person who is not an artist uses AI, they don't have an eye for it yet. So they're directing a machine that has no taste, no emotion, no taste.
Yeah.
And the thing that it puts out, it's good enough, but people who have an eye for it, like let's say realtors using the AI to make their stories, it's good enough, it's marketing, it's funny. But if anyone really has a respect for art or for quality, it turns them away. So that it's like a divider in a way too. And you can go into that conversation a lot more. When you're talking about the transcripts, it saved me a lot of time.
Yeah.
The thing that I'm concerned about with AI is that it's removing a lot of these positions that people can be trained on. I wonder how that'll affect the industry down the road. But if anyone's doing it, you'll be fine.
Yeah. I think what's interesting with it is on the marketing aspect. So I think people think that AI videos, for example, will replace actual videographers or video production companies. I don't think it's the case. Do you still get mailers in your mailbox?
For real estate editing?
Like ads?
Every day, dude.
Do they work? They do sometimes. No. You don't know that.
I'm not going to hire them.
Well, maybe not for you, but I'm just saying they're getting on top of mine. Like, I get some, and it'll be some agent. I met her at some like networking thing, and she works my neighborhood, I think, and I've never seen her again. But it kind of just like that flash of like, I pick it up, I throw it in the trash. It still clicked in my head that I saw her. So what I was getting at with that, and you didn't tee me up the right way, so now I'm totally off track.
Boo.
That type of medium still exists. And so it's like, just because there's AI video doesn't mean that we're going to throw away video production. If anything, it might make that stronger, because people who eventually will all get more trained on seeing AI for AI, and so we'll know it's fake or not. And so for, to have that raw, authentic video, people are going to have like a craving for that from time to time as well. Just like we still go to movies.
Okay, but
even though short form is apparently taking over the world.
Yeah, but that's a matter of taste. Because that's like when we do long form and then short form came out, how many people in our industry hated TikTok?
Yeah.
Like the first time it came out, like 2018.
And now let's be real, they're all dancing with their cameras on TikTok.
Yes. So I'm just saying that's a matter of taste, because when we talk about AI creators, because I see that, there's one person I like really specific, Luca Maxim. He makes music and he uses AI to create the marketing. But there's someone prompting it and they make it really interesting. But again, that comes down to taste. That realtor that you're talking about, they use AI, but that's because they're always trying to show up on your feed. So it's a matter of like turnaround.
Well, we'll move on to the most popular question. What camera should I buy? And so I'm going to go ahead and kind of tee this up with how I was thinking of how to answer this, because it's a pretty loaded question. Because this person comes up to me on the street and I'm flying my drone or whatever, and they ask me, what camera should I buy? I have no idea like how much money they have. Are they doing this as a hobby? Are they trying to turn it into a career?
Yeah.
I know none of that. So what I try to do is I try to ask them a question and figure out where they kind of fit. And I have 3 categories. You have the hobbyist, the hustler, and the high end. Try to have 3 H's,
I like
last name starts with H. I'm like, let's try to be on brand.
Those 3 categories, because they're more specific than like beginner, entry level, professional.
Exactly. I didn't want to just say that because that still was a little too broad. So hobbyists, what I would tell them is to just get a nice phone. If they don't already have a nice phone, I mean, even if you go onto eBay and you go like a couple years back, that phone is probably still pretty good quality. You could use that to figure out if you actually like, what do you like about doing this? Like, do you like just being able to be out and taking photos? What things do you like taking photos of? You could figure all that out before you even spend any money, technically, because you already have this phone. Yeah. And what's cool about most iPhones and Galaxies, and I think really any phone at this point, that's like probably the past 5 years, they have pro settings. So you could learn all the pro settings inside of this phone before you even pick up the camera. So you could learn about shutter, aperture, ISO, white balance, all that kind of stuff. Next, you have what I would call the hustler. And this is a pretty broad, I think hobbyists, it's kind of a small market of it, because that's why I think it's good advice just to start with your phone, because you're going to realize right away, okay, is this going to become more than a hobby or not? And you could still have professional gear and have a hobby. It's gonna be a very expensive hobby, but that is something you do. We know a guy who builds these outrageous driving sim rigs, who is a photographer. I don't think he's making money off his driving rigs, but he likes doing it. So that could be you. You could be super into photography. You want to buy a bunch of gear, but you don't plan on making money with it. But I think most hobbyists fall in the line of like, they just think it's fun to do. They want to try to do it. They don't want to spend a lot of money. Now, once you start wanting to invest more money into it, I would call you more of a hustler. So a hustler, I would recommend an entry-level camera. Now, we know the Sony ecosystem the best, so I can't really speak for Canon and Nikon and Panasonic. But for Sony, where that lies, I think it's something like a ZV-10. Maybe you could find like a used, what are their
like the A7C or A67 or A65,
so you could start there. That's gonna be pretty inexpensive, still gives you the ability to exchange lenses, so you can kind of learn that concept of it. And to be honest, they're pretty feature locked. Like the ZV-10 does 4K, it does high res photos, you could do raw images, so all the settings are there. It's just missing some of the features you would have from a more higher end camera, but you could get away with like doing content for people like with that camera essentially. It's actually the camera we recommend to our clients who are trying to get started a lot of times, and they want to have something nicer than just a phone. So I think that's a really good place to be.
And for the Canon equivalent, I think the best thing I can recommend is a Canon RP. It's just, again, these are full frame cameras, most of them are, and they have one SD card, so you may want to save up for something that's two SD cards. But if you're just doing this as a hobby and you can reshoot a lot, in case anything gets corrupted, just get a single SD card.
Oh, and I do have a recommendation for Nikon. Pretty much any potato is good to start with. So, but I really like sweet potatoes. So I would say maybe a sweet potato if you're a hustler, and then, you know, as you increase, because Nikons are potatoes.
What's next? Come on.
So then lastly, you have high end. So, I know what I was going to say with this. You could maybe splice this in. What's cool about a lot of these more entry-level cameras is they're very hybrid focused, which is great if you're not really sure what route you want to go. Because I've known people who are like, I really like taking photos. And so they start asking me about photography. But then what they end up finding they're really into is like the storytelling and the motion of the images. And I'm like, well, maybe you should try video. So having a more hybrid camera gives you the opportunity to be able to experiment with both sides. So I wanted to share on that. So you could spice that in.
Go in.
So then our last one is high end. So you know, this can mean a few different things. I'm going to kind of speak more to what I think our audience is, which I don't think our audience is like FX6 users and stuff. But if you are, obviously that's a pretty clear option for video specific needs. But if we're talking about someone who's maybe more video focused and they're wanting to do some photo on the side, I think, you know, it's been the flagship for Sony for like 5 years, but the A7S III is a great answer to that. If you know that you're going to be more video focused, you might as well go ahead and get an FX3 just because you can rig it out more. And then if you're kind of falling in the line of, I don't know which one I'm wanting to do, or I want to do a little bit of both, I would say something like the A7 IV. If you want to save a little bit of money, you could go back to the A7 IV and you'll probably be pretty good. Or if you really want to go flagship and you want to be super hybrid, you have the A1 that you could go with, which is like kind of their top of the line camera. So those are kind of the cameras I recommend. To recap, so hobbyists, just start with your phone. Don't even like bother buying a camera yet. Once you upgrade to a hustler, that's when you start looking at things like a ZV-10. And then once you're kind of ready to take it serious in like the high end level, for video, I would say like an A7S III or an FX3. Hybrid, something like an A7 V, or if you want like flagship photo but still good video, something like an A1. Question number 3. This is one I hear often too. I think people are looking for a certain answer, but I actually sometimes give them an answer maybe they don't want. And that is, should I film in horizontal or vertical? And what I mean by that is a lot of times people want me to verify that they should do everything horizontal, but that's not always the case nowadays in our world. Now, what I would say is if you're creating stuff and you don't know where it's going to go, you should always just do horizontal, but keep the crop in mind that they might use it for vertical one day.
Yeah.
But if, say, it is like social media content and you know specifically it's going to Instagram and that's the only place it'll ever live, I'd say just film it vertically because it's going to be the best quality it can be. Now, the cheat code, there is a camera out there that is doing horizontal and vertical at the same time.
Yeah.
Which surprisingly is a potato, and it's a very good potato. So there is a camera that can do that, and I'm sure that feature will eventually probably come over to all the other ones, which will be great. But if you don't have that option, I always say start with horizontal unless you know for sure that this content's going to live and die on something like Instagram.
I disagree with you.
Oh, really?
I disagree with you. I think the camera you're thinking of is the Canon C50, not the ZR.
Okay, so you can.
And also, I just want to say real quick, OpenGate's overrated. I used to think I really wanted OpenGate since like the September launch of all the cameras. Yeah. But how many months later, no one's talking about it.
All right. Related to question 2.
Okay.
What comes with the camera? A lens.
Yeah.
And often I get asked, what lens should I buy or what lens should I be using?
Mm-hmm.
Before I answer, I just want to kind of hear like your thoughts. Like if you have some favorite lenses.
What are you going to be filming? Sorry, I sound a little bitter, but it's like common sense, people. What are you going to be filming? If you're going to be filming wildlife, get a telephoto. If you're going to be filming real estate, get a 16. You know, it's what do you think you're going to be filming? I personally, I'm going to answer my favorite. I personally like a good 28 to 70. It's a really good range for a lot of different stuff. And then you can punch in a little bit with 4K, or you can move back. But
well, I'm going to be less judgmental and just answer the question.
They got to know, Travis. They got to know that if they're going to be shooting real estate, they do not need this big lens, and vice versa.
Yeah. My probably like favorite go-to is actually Sony's Zeiss 50 1.8. It's very light. Kind of checks. It's like you can get wide if you need to get wide, if you have some room to step back, but you can also still make a nice kind of close-up, shallow looking image. Works great on a gimbal. Autofocus is a little dated on it, but like it works great on a gimbal, works great for interviews. It's kind of like a lens that I always just throw in my bag because I'm like, there's probably some time I can use it. And that's speaking more on the commercial side. Even on the wedding side, that's usually where I start the day is I'll have like a 35 and a 50 and I'm good because then if we walk into a hideous room, I can hide everything.
Yeah, that's
shallow
good.
depth of field and everything looks sharp and crisp. So that's probably my favorite lens. I even just like will take it for travel sometimes. Now, as far as my most versatile lens, it's probably the Tamron we have, the 35 to 150. That thing is pretty much covers everything. So if you don't know what you're going to be shooting, like Chris assumed you do, that's like the perfect lens to bring with you where you have 35, it goes down to f2.0. So you can get like a pretty nice, almost feels like a prime lens shot. But then you can go all the way up to 150. So you have a lot of versatility on like telephoto and wide. Now, it's not going to be the sharpest lens. It's not going to be as sharp as like the 50 I just talked about. But if you're in a pinch, you have one lens you can bring with you. Probably my most used lens is the 7200. Just the nature of what we do a lot, whether it's weddings, events, even manufacturing, that extra length is so important. And I have the Mark II, so it's super lightweight. It's actually probably like one of the lightest lenses I have, even though it's a telephoto lens, which makes no sense. It's very sharp. The autofocus is great. So that's probably like my most used lens, but that's also the role I'm in a lot where, I'm usually doing the more telephoto stuff. So it makes more sense for me to have that lens.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, what Chris was saying is partially true. If you're shooting real estate, your favorite lens is probably going to be a wide angle lens because that's what you're going to be using most of the time. So there's not one lens that rules all, but you can have your favorites that you use. So
I would still recommend, unless you know specifically you're doing something like real estate or vlogging all the time, I'd still recommend you get a versatile 28 to 70. Yeah. I feel like that just covers everything.
It's kind of nice just to like shoot around with too.
Yeah.
It's
or if you're Canon.
I call it a boring lens.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty boring. Like it's just like 28, 770.
It is boring, but like sometimes
2.8, but it gets the job done.
Hey, boring is stable. Yeah. All right, and sometimes we just need we're in business. We need to be stable.
He's going through some relationship issues right now. So
hey, yo, you did not need to enter me out like that. But hey, you need stability in a relationship, do you not?
Yeah.
For a crop sensor, 18 to 105 Sony, right? And then for Canon, they have like a good 24 to 105 or 115. And I really wish Canon had a 24 to like 150. But I know people use that for basketball stuff. So
you know what's actually a GOAT lens that no one talks about anymore?
85
18 to 105 f4. There's a crop lens.
That's what I just said.
It's so boring, but it is like really easy to use. And it had that like electrical zoom. So if you have an FX3, FX3 is a bad example because the crop issue. But if you had a camera that has a power zoom, you could use the power zoom feature of the lens. So
yeah. Next question.
Number 5, are content creators taking videographers' jobs? I'll answer this. Short answer is yes. They are. They are.
Yeah.
There is a market of lower end, lower cost videographers that are losing their job to content creators.
Yes.
I made a note of that myself.
Yes.
So I said it right. Typically when you're thinking of lower end videographers, you're thinking of cheaper gear, older gear. You know, the quality of their work is just okay. Maybe they're not even doing it full time. It's like a side thing. They're part time. And so it's not so much the videographer. It might not even be the gear. Maybe the gear's fine. It's the quality of the business that is getting replaced by content creators who typically are a little bit like, I don't want to stereotype content creators, but they usually be a little bit younger, scrappier. They understand turnaround time. They kind of get things that couples nowadays are looking for. So you got to imagine if you're a couple and you have, say, only $1,000 to spend, and there's this videographer who's charging $1,000, who's like a dinosaur that's using like some tape video camera that's going to give you a one camera edit like 4 months later. Or you have this person who seems young and hip and they understand the industry and they're shooting on like some brand new phone and they're going to give you your content the next day. And they're talking to you like a bride and not like a grandpa, you know, like, who are you going to go with? You're going to probably pick the content creator, whether even if you don't even know the difference of the ratio and all that stuff, that's probably what you're going with. So I do think it's actually replacing a lot of videographers' jobs. That's my hot take for the day.
Okay, interesting. There's a lot of angles I can go at this with. I'm gonna say something very generic that applies to every industry, okay? Whenever there's a lower barrier of entry, you need to increase your quality of service. So even for us, what we notice is when all these content creators started coming in, right? And you're giving instant gratification. For us, there was more of an, even though we already do this, for us, there was more of an emphasis to return those like next day teasers, their same day teasers, right? Because that's what they wanted.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, those that were not great at their quality of service, those are the ones that are getting overrun by the content creators because they're like, they might not fully understand the industry, but they will give the client what they want. Like, for example, with the short form stuff like the TikToks, that is an extra for our services.
Yeah.
But then content creators, they don't make full edits and they don't make short films. They're giving you the clips like that's maybe what a client wants. We had this one wedding last year in May where she is a social media person. So she wanted social media content. As far as content creators, have you seen those that are trying to become low-end wedding videographers? Like they're basically just making a full, like they bring out the drone, they're just making a full wedding. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have seen that where it's starting to shift where content creators are starting to become low-end videographers.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's also part of the reason why a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. We're specifically talking about weddings. I don't think content creation is kind of different in the commercial world. You know, like that's like a totally different thing.
Yeah.
Specifically targeting weddings, I think that is what's really going to run videographers out, is because you have these, I see them in groups where they almost kind of criticize anyone charging too much. And they're like, well, I do this as a side hustle. I only charge this much. And, my couples don't care that it takes me 6 months to deliver their video. Well, like if they have options now and this person says they're going to deliver a video in, 48 hours, but they're also still bringing a drone and stuff and they're a content creator, they're going to go with that person.
It's just like competition. Dude.
What I think will eventually happen is these content creators will be like a lot of these entry-level videographers where they realize what they're charging is not sustainable to run a business. So either A, they're going to exit the market, or B, they're going to have to start charging more. And ironically, they might just start becoming videographers and then they're just playing in the same like level that we're in because they realize, my margins were too low as a content creator. I want to have more fun with creativity. I'm finding that like better weddings are booking me if I'm more creative. So now I'm going to just essentially become a videographer or a cinematographer and I'm no longer a content creator. But they're going to probably still have those traits they had as a content creator. So they might be like us where they're like very conscious of like turnaround time, and that's going to outpace maybe some of the people who are still in the market. So
that's a good way to look at it. I'm going to go back a little bit. I think it's just a matter of deliverables for now.
Yeah.
There is the quality service, there is the pricing, but deliverables, because I feel like there's a bunch of headbutting between wedding videographers, wedding cinematographers, whatever you want to call it, and content creators. I think if you can partner up with people or maybe bring someone on as an addition to your team, I think there's some good harmony to be made. It's just still too fresh for people to understand really how things are going to get settled in. Yeah. Also, I haven't heard about content creators recently. But
I feel like it's actually kind of dying off
a little bit.
Weird way.
It's also been the winter, so yeah.
But no, I think it was a hot thing, and maybe it's like we see this all the time. It's like right now the hot like photo booth is at like Vogue photo
Yes.
box
Yeah.
thing or whatever.
Pretty
But
cool.
we probably won't see that in like 2 years, you know. And I think there are a lot of things that is something that's good to kind of stand on is, you know, there's a few staple vendors that will probably always be around. They might adapt to how they do things, but they're always kind of there. DJ, photo, video, floral. And content creators might come and go, but that still doesn't mean that they're not going to take your job. Because, like I was saying, they might not be content creators anymore. They might evolve into videographers. They're like Pokemon.
Can
you
I
know,
also,
they're a Charmander right now,
bruh,
and then when they become a videographer, they're a Charmeleon, right? That was his name.
yeah.
And then when they become a cinematographer, that's when they're a Charizard.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
People need illustrations to take.
Can I say though, my gripe with content creators isn't that they're taking away jobs, because I feel like if you're good enough and you stand out and you market yourself as a market of one, no one's going to take your job.
Yeah.
It's that, like you said, some of them are young and get the industry. Some of them are young and don't film the industry that they're jumping into. So they don't understand the production that goes into an event.
Yeah.
I think that's my biggest thing. It's like, hey, you don't really know what's going on and you're trying to step on toes. But that's every industry. If you know, people come in with their ideas and they don't know how things work.
Yeah. Next question. Should I shoot in log? I'll let you answer this one first.
I always would have said yes, but my answer is no. I've recently become better at understanding that sometimes you need to change the settings to be more instant, because that's not maybe what the client wants. Like I just recently started shooting in standard, not something I'd ever let myself do, but yeah. No, don't always shoot in log, especially because like storage is so expensive now.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't need that.
It's interesting because it's like a question I ask myself sometimes still. Like
Mhm.
this comes up in my head, like, should I try it? Should I not? There's a few things that I factor in when I'm trying to make a decision. So we've shot a lot of stuff on HLG3, which I've been really happy with. It's kind of like a middle ground between a log and a standard. And I feel like that works really well with like the kind of size of clients we have and like the turnaround time and stuff, where we have room to work with it, but it's not crazy hard. And if there ends up becoming a request for raw footage, it's not like a struggle to get that to them. Like, they could
that's a good
take
point.
that footage, I could give them a lot and they'll probably they'll be good. But if I give them log footage, they're gonna be like, what the heck is this? Unless they have like an in-house professional editor. So the HLG3 has been a good compromise, like kind of in the middle.
Mhm.
Now there are some projects we have done log with, which I think were nice to have because we had more control over that. But again, those projects kind of allowed for that.
Yeah.
And that's really the end of the day. That's what I'm looking at is like, what's the ROI on this? Like if we shoot in log, is it going to add like 10 more hours because of all this extra work we have to do? But then they need this project like next week. Okay, no, we shouldn't do it. Like for example, like real estate, I wouldn't shoot real estate probably in log unless I knew it was a project we had a little more time to sit on. But if it's like a big commercial project and they have months to get the final product, like why not shoot in log? Because it just gives you more control. But one thing I will say, don't shoot in log unless you know how to shoot in log, because that can also be a mess. And we've dealt with that where we've had a client have someone local film something for a project and they shot in log and they didn't expose properly and they didn't use ND filters, or, you know, this or that was thrown off and it made it really hard to work with their footage. So you definitely want to know how to shoot. And if you don't know how to shoot, I don't have a tutorial for that, but you can find a tutorial for that. But the first thing I would recommend myself is to get a monitor, something bigger than just the screen on your camera, and learn how to read like false color and stuff, because that's going to be a huge like help when it comes to exposing properly for log.
I want to go back to something you said that do they have an in-house editor? Because I actually shot something in HLG and sent it and they still didn't understand how to do it, even though they had
everything's
an editor.
overexposed.
Yeah. Well, no, they were like, why is everything gray? I'm like, dude, aren't you an editor?
Too, yeah.
Like, so yeah, make sure not only do they have an in-house editor if they want the raw footage, but what level are they at? Can you try to gauge it to understand if you can send in a log or HLG? Because I still had to go in and turn things into a Rec 709 for them.
Yeah. And I was talking about kind of the efficiency of the editing and like the turnaround time.
Yeah.
It's also important to think about what is it going to be like on set? Because once you start shooting with log, again, you're probably going to want to monitor. It's going to be a little harder to expose. I've even noticed autofocus doesn't always work as well. And then you're going to have ND filters unless you're just cranking your shutter speed. So you have to make sure, like, is this a running gun production? Because like maybe it's not a good time to use log, or like, do you have time to sit down, set up lighting properly and everything? Then it might be okay.
I think that's a conversation of a battle of like turnaround versus quality.
Right.
Like if things need to be more instant and more spontaneous, like just, put something out there, do it in standard. If something is, we're going to revisit this, we're going to take this project and make multiple deliverables out of it, and it's going to take a while, like a month turnaround.
Yeah.
Again, that's something to consider.
Next question.
Yes, sir.
Should I work for free?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course you're going to say, yeah, you do it all the time.
Yeah, but I do it because it helps me break into an industry that I don't know. Like right now I'm doing fashion, and I might try to get back into nightlife. And in doing that, like stuff pro bono, I still make sure that I get something out of it, and not just a portfolio piece, like connections or something. Like my time is still compensated in some way. It's just not financial.
You bring up a good point. It's being strategic about it. You don't just want to like spray and pray and just be like, anyone who approaches you asks for a free video and they tell you that they're going to give you exposure or something. Like, actually, I will even say, if they say that exact line to you, I'll have you do this for exposure, they are probably not the one you should be doing free work for, because they probably do that to everyone. Like they probably bounce around from videographer to videographer, and there's no loyalty.
You know what you should do in that case? If they ask you, they'll pay you an exposure, just overexpose everything. It's like, dude, delivering
I'll
an
pay
exposure.
you in half, and then you cut the footage in half.
My motto when it comes to free work is, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no.
Yeah.
If I'm excited about this project, I'm gonna learn a thing or two. Like if there's something that I'm benefiting from this, even if it's like a dopamine spike or something, if I'm benefiting from this, I'm gonna do it. If it's not a 100% a yes, or even 95, I'm not gonna do it. It's just not worth it.
Yeah, there are a lot of cases where you should do stuff for free, especially starting out. I think one, if you're just wanting to learn about an industry, like let's say you've never done a video shoot for construction, well, the best way to learn is to offer it for free to someone who would maybe normally not do video production to begin with. So just going and Googling, searching local businesses in your area, but then it's being very strategic about it. So like making sure, like, is this a credible business? Like, could you see them maybe giving you more work or referrals? Do they have a team where maybe you can get like a handful of testimonials from them? So you want to be strategic about it. You don't want to just be like, hey guy, I don't know, can I do this free video for you? And I'm gonna give it to you. And then that's all that happens. You wanna have a plan, and like, like, okay, I'm gonna request that if they like it, they have to do more work with me, or they have to leave me reviews. There has to kind of be a plan to it. And even if maybe there's not a super concrete plan, if it's something that like you need in your portfolio to show others that could result to more work, that might be worth it too. So just like being able to say, like, you have construction in your sizzle reel now, and then when you meet with a construction, company, you could show that to them. There's probably value in that as well.
I would also recommend, at least something I'm doing right now, is if someone can vouch for the person you're working for. Like in my example, let's say someone has a cameraman who that relationship is no longer working, and I'm not saying that's negative. I mean, maybe they're moving on to different things in life. If they pay this person, and maybe in the current time they just need a proof of concept that is a fraction of a regular deliverable, then yeah, you can show like, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is like a little bit of what you can see, and then continue on to paid projects. Yeah. But do you have to have a very verbal and very like sincere conversation about that before you take on more? Because I mean, there's a vouch about they pay, but we don't know what that pay structure may look like.
Yeah, I want to give another example as well. That's a different industry that you can kind of work with. So nonprofit, for example, let's say you wanted to work with a nonprofit, or a nonprofit that you like approaches you because they know that you do photo or video, and they ask if you could, do something for them for free. The big thing is to make sure they are aware that you're not doing it for free, you're doing it as a donation. And so that can be a very good way to leverage kind of free work. So not only could you work those other benefits, the testimonials, getting something in your sizzle reel, maybe it opens a door to like a connection. But if it's like a nonprofit, let's say, you can also donate your services and whatever that value is. And most nonprofits are aware that this is an option. And what's great is that's now a tax write-off. I'm not a tax advisor. Don't come to me for tax advice. But I do know that this is something you can do where, you're going to, produce this video, and now you're donating your services to them. And then when I would say the next step from that is like, don't just do like the subpar because you're doing free work. You want to knock their socks off, because the goal is to really impress, where they now see the value in paying for the service because you donated it. So they know how much it's worth.
Yeah.
So now maybe the next year it's like, hey, I'll still donate maybe 10%, but I need to be compensated for the rest. And they might go for that because they saw how much they raised from this video. And that is also good data to get from them, is to make sure they're tracking, you know, how much money was raised because of this video, you know, how many people maybe donated because of this video, getting that kind of data. So then even if this nonprofit you're working with never becomes a client, you now have data from them that you could take to other nonprofits that might have the budget for you.
I actually want to add on to that. By the way, that's very good stuff. I want to add in two things. Last year, I did a job for a nonprofit. I donated my time. I took your advice. And then what they did for me is over the next few months, and at my direction, over the next few months, they left a little over half a dozen reviews of 5-star reviews for me.
Yeah.
And when they said, oh, we'll do a review for you, I specifically had that conversation because if there's so many reviews at one time, it'll hurt your business, but over time. So I got a bunch of good reviews over time. But again, directing them, someone recently asked me to help them with something for free. And they're like, oh, just do something real quick. It'll like, we don't want to take up too much of your time. I said, no. If I'm going to help you with a project there and I'm going to slap my name on something because it's exposure, it needs to have a level of quality that it needs to like meet my expectations or surpass my expectations, and we'll put it out there. I'm not going to help you out with something just because it's easy for me to do, because it looks bad on me. Because I don't know if like I can make it in the media, but then I don't know how you're marketing it and how it's going to do number wise. And if it does poor number wise, it's a reflection of my work.
Yeah.
So it's like I said, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no.
Yeah. One last tip I have on this with the nonprofits. You can really work an event as well. And this is something I've kind of learned more recently that I don't think I took advantage of in the past. Typically, if you think of like a gala or a summit that a nonprofit's doing, there's a lot of sponsors, and a lot of those sponsors are other businesses. Now, let's say you're a headshot photographer or like a commercial videographer. Those might be your possible clients. So sometimes too, working with these nonprofits gets you in front of other people who may have the money to flip for your services. So it's always good to do the follow-up too. Like, you don't want to just show up to the event, do free work, do a free edit, and that's it. Now, a lot of the hard work comes after it's been done, and now you can follow up with these companies or people who are sponsoring.
That reminds me, can I add in one more thing? If you're helping a nonprofit and they're just getting started, and then you're at the gala and you see them fundraising money, you have information that like they're actually like making something out of this. Not to take away from their cause. You want the money going to their cause.
Yeah.
But once the ball is moving, they can apply for grants that are for video product, for media, for them to raise more funds. So then you can continue with the follow-up and then get paid.
Yeah, a handful of the clients that have hired us in the past have been, the only reason they were paying for the video was from grant money. So what kind of videos should I post to get clients? I would say anything that's for fans, right? For fans video. I mean, you're going to get plenty of clients posting.
I don't think I follow. What do you mean for fans?
For fan, you know, I've heard of this. It's like Instagram, I think, but for people who make money.
What are you talking about? For fans?
Is that even what it's called? I don't even know.
Do you know what he's talking about?
Oh
my God. Oh my God.
See, I'm older than you. I don't even know how to term. I'm the Facebook, you know.
I saw that. Never mind. I'm not gonna go down this rabbit hole.
You probably cut that. That's all right.
But
yeah, what kind of video should I post? Probably like stuff from their portfolio, right? That's all they need to post. Just never-ending content of the great work they do, and they'll get hired.
This is a very loaded question, and there's nuance to this question. You have to try to meet your market at where they are. So, like for example, I post a lot of Instagram stuff. The people who come to me from Instagram are looking at my work and what I post, and it only attracts a certain amount of people. You will take the same media and edit it slightly differently and post it to LinkedIn, and it attracts a very different group of people. So I don't really have it down to a science, but you have to try to meet them where they are as far as platform, and then editing style as well. Editing to me is like a language, and within each platform there's accents to this language. So you have to understand what language are people speaking, and can you like be fluent with them.
Yeah. And what I found from my own years of doing this is typically posting something I did for a client, just the straight video as is, it's probably not going to move the needle much. I may get a few people that are like, that's cool. Most of them are other videographers or photographers.
Yeah.
It's not usually clients, because you're not like a business owner. isn't just looking at the pretty video. They might catch their attention, but they want to like know what's the context behind this of you posting it. Now, obviously that client that I made that for, when they post it, they're going to have the right description. You know, they're going to have the right tags. People that are following their channel have the context of who they are. So they might think that video is the coolest thing ever. But for me to post that video and just post the video, people are just like, okay, you made a cool video, but I don't know anything about this company. I don't know.
Yeah.
So you need to have like a mix of things that are going to approach it. Like, just like you're being hired by that company to make marketing content for them, you need to be making your own marketing content. And that might look differently depending on what your audience is. Like, I've actually found the stuff that does the best for us social media wise is more of like the behind the scenes, trendy, meme, like funny stuff. And it probably reaches like it catches a wider net, which is good and bad, but it kind of like, it's usually the things people bring up to me when they see me again. So if like I go to a networking event, they might not reference like the cool video that I posted that we did for XYZ manufacturer, but they'll reference like the funny video that we might have made, or like the behind the scenes video we made. And they think that's like cool stuff. So, I'm kind of getting long winded here, but basically to summarize, like, you want to make the content that is going to basically market your brand, and posting just videos you make for other people, that's marketing their brand, but it might not be marketing your own brand.
Yeah, that's very good. There's a couple of ways to go about that, because what you're saying, it reminds me of something I've seen a lot recently, where it's like, don't post your work, post you working.
Yeah.
And that does well.
There's another kind of, that fancy word they use that when you're connecting two things together.
Connecting?
Oh, I don't know.
Networking?
No, like
bridging?
Forget it. It's gone. I don't know. But an analogy, right? I think
Yeah.
it's what I'm trying to say.
I see. Okay.
Is a restaurant. People are usually not amazed by the dish itself. Like, what they are intrigued by are like the ingredients that make the dish, you know, like they want to know the secret sauce. Like, why does McDonald's Coca-Cola taste different than everyone else's Coca-Cola? Like, what's the ingredient they use? Like,
they have a different formula.
Like, that's what's intriguing. It's not just the Coca-Cola tastes different. It's like, what is the formula? And that's kind of what you're doing. So like, when you are recording behind the scenes of you filming for this company, it kind of almost makes it more approachable to someone, because it can be intimidating to see like this polished video and like, how did that get made and how many days did that take? But like, when you kind of show like, oh, it's just like 3 guys hanging out with cameras and lights, and they're making, everyone's laughing and having a good time, then it almost makes it like more approachable of what you do, which that's essentially the kind of content that's going to get you more clients.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you're just marketing yourself, because like, your vibe on set is also part of what they're paying for,
right?
Because they don't want people coming in who are going to be like absolute,
almost like make them more nervous.
Yeah, and then you don't want to like get in the way of their actual business as well. So maybe a company does want to make it a big thing and involve all of their employees. Maybe someone just wants us to be a fly on the wall. So you kind of just have to just show what it's like to have us.
Yeah.
Like what we do, I would say, is very commercial. But then for some people who do more like short film sort of stuff, like out west, they're marketing themselves, because how would it be if you hired me as a grip, for example, or a first AC? So I see a little bit of that. I also see people who do like social media content, and they're very non-serious. Like, they post themselves doing things that are very edgy and humor, but they also get a lot of clients because that's what they want.
Yeah.
So you are showing the energy of like, again, what is the vibe that you're bringing to the set? You and I can produce the exact same deliverable, but it's going to be a very different workflow.
Good point. Now, can we both produce the same deliverable if one of us is handheld and one of us is gimbal? Which one's better, gimbal or handheld?
Again, depends on what you're shooting.
Well, yeah, like, you don't want to shoot real estate handheld, probably. You know, that would make a lot of sense. But you might not want to shoot a sporting event with a gimbal, because you want to move around more.
I did that, and it was such a mistake, because I kept telling myself having a gimbal was a sign of quality. I learned very, very quick that was wrong.
I think there is a stereotype that like handheld is like a lazy gimbal, but I think it just depends what you're going into it for. So if you take a wedding, for example, there's usually like kind of 3, well, I guess 4 technically setups that we'll use throughout the day, depending on what's happening. You have gimbal, you have handheld, you have tripod, and then you have monopod. Those are kind of, I'd say, the most common things. Gimbal is for a specific type of shot. Now, there is sometimes we're just using gimbal because we don't have any other option. We want it to be a little more stationary and we were going to be run and gun and we don't know where we're going. But typically I have the gimbal in mind for a few certain things. Like when the bride comes down the aisle, that's gimbal. That can't be handheld because it needs to be like flowing and moving, you know?
Yeah.
What's another example? Like a lot of the walking stuff, like we want it to feel like kind of like airy, you know, like that kind of movement and stuff. But then there's some stuff where actually the gimbal is almost too stationary and a monopod is too stationary. So then I'll do handheld, like some of the getting ready, like the hair and makeup, like sometimes one, it's easier to just get in there closer.
That's true.
But then two, it feels a little more organic, which kind of is that moment because it's kind of a raw moment. Like you don't know where the hand's going and all this kind of stuff. So you're kind of shooting it more raw as it happened. And even some of the photo session stuff, like we'll do some nice gimbal movement stuff. But then sometimes like if the couple's like running through a field, I want it to feel more like we're moving with them. And a gimbal sometimes just feels too robotic, like it's too fixed and too perfect. But then you have tripod for like a lot of the day. And like there's even some prep that is tripod, like the rings and stuff. A lot of times I like a tripod because it's just stationary and it's not moving. And the thing that's moving is like the ring or the light or something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't want to distract from the movement I'm making in camera by the camera also moving. So it is really about like, what are you filming? There's not really like a right answer. It's just like, what is kind of the look you want. I know some wedding videographers, they shoot everything handheld, but that's like the look they want. I'm not really super into that look. I think I like the variety of looks, but some people just want one specific look and that's what they go with. I know also some videographers, it's like all tripod and that's their look.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I think at the end of the day, the way that we film, it's every decision is motivated by something. Because like you said, the field thing and the gimbal, sometimes there's decisions that even if you may not know what we do, subconsciously it takes you out of the story. And that is like the biggest thing I'm trying to avoid. We want people to be more emotionally involved into the story and be in the story. Like when they're watching a wedding film, we don't want to have decisions that make you be like, why did they do that?
Yeah. We're not drawing attention to the tech. We're just drawing attention to like the story and the elements. So like drone is a good example. Sometimes people just use drone just because they have a drone. Not every building should be shot with a drone, you know, like they just don't look pretty and it doesn't look good. And like the rest of like the thing you're shooting might look grand and high end and expensive. And then if the building is just some like hole in the wall somewhere, it's like, that's going to take away from the story. So even though you have the drone, maybe you shouldn't use it that day, you know? And I think these are the same kind of thing. You never want the video to be about the tech. It's about the story and who's in the story.
You need to get the tools out of the way.
Yeah. So this one's an important one to ask because this is a long episode. So it's probably going to come in handy with some tips and tricks. How can I edit faster?
I don't know. That's not a question.
You're the wrong person.
I'm not the right person to ask. I like to.
I'm actually asking for myself. How do I train someone to edit faster? If you can let me know in the comments below, that would be great. No, I think there are some things that people could do that maybe they don't know that they can do. So a lot of times when I first talk with a really shooter or editor, I tell them about our workflow with proxies. And they didn't even know this was a thing. Or if they knew about proxies, they thought they had to make them in Premiere every time.
Yeah.
They didn't realize that the cameras could do that. So us being on Sony, I know this isn't for all camera systems, but ours has this. You can record internal proxies. Still lets you do 2 card slots. Still lets you have like your full 4K, all that kind of stuff. But now you have a lower resolution version of that same file. That has saved so much time. I mean, that's how we pull off our same day edits for weddings. If it wasn't for that, I'd have to hire an individual person who's like dedicating all their time to editing. But because we're just working with these lower resolution files, I just pull those files versus the 4K files and I make my teasers with those files. But then later on, when it comes time for post, I don't have to edit all this raw 4K files. I can now just connect these proxies and use these proxies to essentially speed up my workflow. So that's probably like the first tip I would provide is like, if you're not using internal proxies and let's say you're working on an older computer or you just need to do quick turnaround times, you should definitely be using proxies. And like, I know it's only like 1080 is like the most you can do with a proxy, but when you're delivering like a same day type edit, or like, you know, like say a week recap video for a conference, they're not going to really notice the difference off of like a 1-2 minute video.
Yeah,
So,
I think we were talking about wedding same day edits, right? Something that we do. The footage we pull in is the proxies. We don't even like link the full media for at that time.
not till the final
Yeah,
video,
not until the final. My second tip will be to create templates. Again, a lot of this is just like what you know. What I do for Premiere specifically is I have a template project file. So when I copy and paste it and rename it and move it to where I need to, all my footage folders are fine. All my After Effects footage is fine. My music, my sound effects, everything is pulled up. My sequence, I don't have to redo it every time I open a new project. I just copy and paste and then start getting to work.
Yeah, so, like for like the laptop we use for the same day edits, I just have like a blank folder structure, and I just copy and paste it every time we're about to start a new wedding. I just rename it to their name, and that's all I really have to do. Like the Premiere file's already set up. Everything's pretty much set and ready to go. There's even music in there already. So then that way, when it comes time for the edit, like I don't have to spend like 10 minutes like making new folders. It's
same thing with the music. We took a day off. Not we, but I mean like when things are slow, you take time going through that, making playlists of like manufacturing, commercial, weddings. So that way when you need something quick, you're not spending time, wasting time. You're like, okay, let's do this. It's going to work. Maybe we have a revision later on, but this works for now. Let's get things moving.
Yeah. I mean, this is a whole other deeper conversation we won't get super deep into, but if you're the kind of person who says you're very good at multitasking, that is not a brag. So multitasking actually can really hurt productivity. So if you, let me see if I get this illustration right. Someone did this to me one time and it was kind of mind blowing. You basically you want to make a line of the alphabet and you want to make a line of numbers. If you do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's going to be way faster than if you have to go A1, B2, C3. You're like you're like task jumping basically. Like your brain's having to memorize something else, whereas like this is more system. So you want to be like that with your editing too. So like what you're talking about with the music.
Yeah.
Instead of like every single project you have to go look for music, you should just like already do that when you have some free time. Just spend like an hour or so finding a bunch of music tracks, putting them in the categories. So even though like that might not fit every project, most of your projects, you probably have an idea of what music you want to use. So you're not thinking about that. Same goes with editing. You want to focus on kind of like one task and then move on to the next one. What I see some editors do is they'll do a few selects and then they'll do a little bit with the music. Then they'll do a little bit with sound effects, and then they'll go and color correct those few selects they made. And then they'll make some more selects and they're doing it again. What you really should have been doing is like putting it in the compartments. So like, let's say it's like a wedding film. We want to start with maybe the narrative. So all I'm not even doing anything with music. I don't even really care about what the footage looks like. I'm just looking for sound bites, and I'm going to lay out all those sound bites. I'm going to kind of make my narrative for their wedding. Then I'm going to find a music that kind of draws that. I'm only focused on the music. I'm not adding more clips. I'm just kind of like trying to lay the music out so it fits with those audio bites. Now that I have a story and I have kind of like that weaving of the music, now I'm going to go find clips, but these clips have already been selected and I put the selects into certain categories. So like, this is all the photo session. This is all like establishing shots. So then even when I'm going to my selects, it's not like this hodgepodge of a bunch of footage. It's like, it's all in categories. And now I start dropping everything. I'm not color correcting. I'm not going back and re-watching. I'm just laying things out. And now I can do other things like, okay, I'm going to do color correct. And that's all I'm doing right now. So I think if you put things in the compartments, it might not seem like you're saving much time in the grand scale of things, but if you really added up the time, I guarantee it's going to add up over time. So
yeah, I am not as good at that you are. But my first step that helped me was, instead of just editing all at once, I divide my brain into like 2 sections, right? Not the left or right. Sorry, I said that kind of weird. I sit down and I do all the assembly related stuff. I will step away for 10 minutes and then I'll sit down and do all the creative stuff. And that's the way that I divide it. It's not the best, but it's definitely a step forward in the right direction.
Yeah. Well, that's our episode for today, unless you have any other hot takes.
No, I hope that was a very value packed for people. Since it's a little bit more like beginner conversations, I wonder how much of it was actually valuable.
You say beginner, but I think this is a lot of stuff I think people wrestle with. I think this is stuff that people wrestle with even when they've been doing this longer. Like I had mentioned, I still sometimes ask myself, should I be shooting in log? I'm still trying to find ways to edit faster. When I was doing this for like 6 years before I even discovered proxies were a thing. So I think there's like things that as we're going, we get busy with our business and just the day-to-day of it, that we miss opportunities to learn. And there might be things that we skip that we didn't even know we could do that will save us time.
That is true. But what I mean to say is like, these are conversations I no longer am having consistently. Like when everyone starts, you watch so many videos on camera reviews and stuff. I don't know what is out. Like I'm at a point where I don't know what's out, or there's things where we're learning our craft that we talk about as we're getting better. Now the conversations I'm having are reviewing examples of other people's art and emulating it for my clients. And those are the conversations I'm having now. So when I say beginner, I just mean things that I no longer talk about. I don't feel like I talk about anymore or need to for now. And I don't know what I don't know. That's just my take on this.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to try to channel my inner Chaos Chris. I'm going to be a YouTuber here for a second. If you enjoyed this content, please support us with a like. I'm only supposed to ask for one, right? So
it's
just
okay.
a like.
Go ahead.
You don't have to do anything else this time. But next time, do one of the other things. But please like this video. If you like this, go back, watch our last episode. That one was a treat. That one was probably one of my favorite episodes I've ever done. So if you haven't seen that one yet, go see that. And we have a special one coming up in the next following weeks that will be going live. But until next time, stay creative.
Keep rolling. I'm going to ask for something different. Leave a comment about what you want to see. We only can tell you what we know that you want. So leave it below. And since you mentioned YouTube, I'll do the outro. It's been a while. Let's go.